always had to send me with me. I was on the bubble, then I finally got some feeling in me.
Hey, what's happening? What's happening? It's your man, Mastermind.
It's your boy, Big Co. Welcome to America. It's the Big Co Show. We out here live. Is that the video stream, though? Like that?
Yeah,
okay, there we go. Hey. Hey, what's going on? America. Black America. White America. Asian America. Indian America. We all about here. You know what I'm saying? Like, look. It's your boy, Big Co. And Mastermind on the Big Co Show.
We back. We had to shut down for a little bit last week, but every time we do an episode, something else happens. We can't even just relax or just let the last topic we talked about settle because something else big that happened since then.
So it's been so many something else big.
So many.
So you're obviously not talking about the 17-time world champion Los Angeles Lakers.
Definitely not talking about
that.
Not
talking about that. Are you talking about, I heard that there was a big SEC coach that tested positive for COVID today. Are you talking about that?
I don't even know about that.
Okay, we'll talk about it. There was an amazing debate that happened after our last show. Vice presidential debate that happened.
We got to talk about that.
And Mike Pence.
Hey, I'm talking. I'm speaking.
I'm speaking. And then, so what, pray tell, dear brother, event are you referring to?
I'm talking about all of them.
Okay,
I'm talking about all, and then on top of that, they trying to rush this chick into being in the Supreme Court.
The confirmation is coming up. That we could definitely talk about that. So we have to talk about the confirmation hearing for them trying to get the seat filled. We have to talk about it at some point. But the focus from the last show was on the sisters. So
that's right.
We're gonna keep it on the sisters. So, like, if you joined us for the last show, we talked about, it was spawned from LeBron James' regurgitation of a great historical Malcolm X quote about how the black woman is the most disrespected person on the human on the planet. So that was the nature of the show. We had some great guests on to talk about some viewpoints. We had both male and female perspectives. That at the end of the day, we need our community to understand what the argument is from the black woman, and B, how do we as the black man and the community as a whole, how do we overcome that? So that's one of the things we want to talk about tonight. But before we get into that, brother, I just want to ask you, how was your week?
The week has been crazy. But it's a good week because this Friday, shout out, I'm looking right into the camera, shout out to my beautiful wife. We're going on 16 years on Friday.
The Sweet 16 anniversary.
Yes, sir. Diva, I love you, baby.
Much love to the Pope family. Come see them, my friend Diva. I love you. Congratulations. Happy anniversary. Definitely, I love black love. You know what I'm saying? So I'm all about it. And the fact that I was there before y'all was black love, it makes me feel like, I'm close to the situation. You know what I mean? Because I remember when you was looking all goofy on set, like trying to impress her. Like, I'm just saying. Yeah, Diva, you heard me right. He won't ever tell you that, right? Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Everybody want to be down.
Yeah. Last time. I think Nicole might not be available, but hey, Shelby, let's bring Shelby on.
Yeah, let's bring him along.
Hey, I was good.
What's good? I'm good.
Hey, Val.
Hello.
Awesome. Thomas, what's good, my brother?
What's happening, brother? How you doing?
I'm good, man. Welcome back. We're gonna get right into it. Just to give them a recap, we'll start around the horn with Shelby at the top. Tell the people a little bit about yourself and what you want them to know before we get into this conversation.
30 seconds or less.
I'm going to go with 18 seconds because, 18 seconds.
You know what I want everybody to know? Please go vote. Go vote. Go vote. That's all I want you to know.
Go vote. One time. Go vote. All right.
So Shelby says go vote. Hey.
Val?
Go vote early. That line was 5.5 hours when I went to vote last time.
5.5?
5.5 hours. They consolidated 5 voting locations into one poll. Please
Say
go
that
on.
again. That's crazy.
So
5.
before I cut to Thomas real quick, I'm gonna tell you like that's something I've been hearing like for real. Like I've been hearing in situations, particularly like smaller municipalities where they collapse voting like polling booths to like one location. So it's been very, very difficult. So one thing I can tell you, one thing I don't know, I'm sure they have it for every county, every municipality. There's a website, and we can put it on a link on the YouTube page, but it'll show you the different wait times for different polling locations.
Oh yeah. So like I'm in the that county, and the one that I use, it's a 3.5 hour wait. So I spoke to someone today, and they told me in about 3 hours it took them to go in line and vote. But I did mine early. I just dropped my ballot off at the official ballot drop box location.
Yeah.
And I feel good. I just need my sticker. So I don't know who I need to talk to. Georgia government, I need my sticker. What we got to do?
Well,
Listen, if you are in Fulton County, go to State Farm Arena.
That's what I heard.
20
I heard a lot.
minutes. 20 minutes. That was from me parking, going in, getting all set up, and voting. Go to State Farm Arena. Parking is free. They have over 300 voting machines, and my mom got in there in 20 minutes. If you are elderly, if you are handicapped, they have voting machines at the concession stand, so you don't have to go down the steps. If you're able-bodied, you can walk down those steps, and the entire basketball court is full of voting machines. If you are in Fulton County, go to State Farm Arena.
So there you go, Fulton County. Hey, State Farm Arena is where it's at. Let me cut to my man Thomas. Thomas, welcome back to the show, brother. How you doing? How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, brothers. Another day, another dollar lost. That's why I'm at work.
No.
The COVID
Yeah, hey, it is what it is, but at least I can make that dollar back before I give it back to Sam.
Hey,
But,
look,
I had a different experience with the voting. All my years of voting, I could walk right in and walk out. So I look forward to seeing the crowd for a change. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I look forward to sitting outside.
so I'm gonna say this.
Being active.
I'm gonna say this, and like I ain't trying to start no foolishness, nothing like that. But when I looked on the website and they told me the different polling places and the time that it was to vote, I did notice that in
Keep
Gwinnett,
it 100.
I'm just saying, I'm gonna keep it 100. I did notice in Gwinnett where the times were shorter. Those were areas that were like more populated by African Americans. So like.
Can't hear you.
Was, the Malcolm X quote that the African American woman is the most disrespected human on the face of the planet. I would defer. Me and Valerie had an off camera conversation about this, and she brought up the Malcolm X quote, which really hits home. So, Valerie, can you read the full original quote by the brother X?
The quote says, "The most disrespected person in America is the black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the black woman. And the most neglected person in America is the black woman."
Oh, wow. So tonight, I want to unpack that. So, like, we want to talk about the protection, and with disrespect, we can all come to agreement that happens to a degree, right? But the protection piece, I think that's the thing that we need to get into. Like, so tonight we want to talk about how we are protecting our black woman, like from ourselves as black men, from society, and then from the world as a whole. So, Valerie, when you reached out to me and you reread that quote to me, you had some pretty like specific thoughts about it. So, what does that make you feel like as a sister, as a black woman, like 50 some odd years later? You know what I mean? Like it still hits home. So tell me how.
That's the sad part, is that 50 something years later, it still hits home just like it did when he made that statement. There's not a lot of, accountability in the Black community when it comes to things like that. A lot of us are still taught, you keep a man by any means necessary, kind of deal. So not that you need to deserve to be treated right, or you should expect to be treated right, or you shouldn't expect anybody to be putting their hands on you or things of that nature. It's just kind of down to like keep a man by any means necessary kind of viewpoint.
Yeah. So we talked briefly a couple of weeks ago about how in white culture it's like they teach their women how to get a man, and in Black culture we teach our women that you don't need a man. So with the abuse factor, what role do you think that plays, like for a mother or a father raising a young girl, knowing like the I guess the probability of abuse in a Black on Black relationship? Like what are your thoughts on it?
That's, for me, raising daughters, that's scary. The amount of people that I know personally who have been in abusive relationships, still are in abusive relationships, is scary. You want your child to have a good relationship with somebody who cares about them and that they can share your life with. But I would never teach my daughter that you keep a man by any means necessary, even if that means he's putting his hands on you. Wow. So I think for some of us, we kind of go from one extreme to the other. So I don't want her to have to worry about relying on a man, so I just teach her she don't need one, instead of having some balance with it.
Yeah. So Thomas, we've had conversations about it, and you said you had some statistics on this specific topic. So what do you want to like contribute to that, like in regards to the abuse factor, like we talked about before?
Oh wow. Okay. Well, the biggest issue is, from my perspective, and make sure, and from my experience, is that a lot of these relationships that the women I know that are in them, it's easy to say they should not be in them, and I was one of those people who said, why don't you just leave? But then there's a component where they know their abuser better than we do. Meaning, I used the Jennifer Hudson situation. Like, I think it was her sister when that said she was in a very abusive relationship. Everybody was like, why shouldn't you not do it? But her abuser said, if you leave me, I will kill your family. She left and he killed her family. You know what I mean? And so it's a lot of gray lines and fine lines, rather, in that area. But as it pertains to this subject, I think it was few years ago, I read in the CDC that 80% of Black women, make up a disproportionate, they are abused at disproportionate rates than others. And a part of that also goes into the racism piece. It's an intersectionality between race, class, and gender. But when you unpack all of that, it really boils down to Black women are neglected, I guess you would say, more in particular by Black men, because Black men equate our struggles as the same. Yeah. And when you dissect things all the way down to gender, then the Black man can lean on his patriarchy, his power, his head of household, all those things, and that puts us in power and control over our women. Yeah. And then who fights for the women at that point? If the men are trying to protect their power and control as a patriarch, head patriarch.
You touched on that like on the last show, and I wanted to come back to that because I don't think a lot of Black men understand that whole paradigm. Because at the end of the day, right, we love, we rely, we respect the Black woman, but until drama hits, trouble hits, and then she's the first victim of our wrath. But we can always fall back on, agree with a man of another culture, a white man, whatever. We can all fall back on, we're men. You know what I mean? And I don't think a lot of brothers understand how isolated that makes our woman feel, because of the day, and we saw, just going back to the debate, we saw where I got a lot of people inboxing me about the commentator, like the officiator of the I don't even know her now.
Susan. That was Susan.
I'm not a political guy.
Susan.
But her. They felt like somebody even emailed me something I've been saying. Like, I feel like Dave Chappelle was spot on when he said, "Hey, white women were in on the heist. They just weren't happy with the cut." And I felt like that was a prime example of how that works, right? So you have a woman of another culture being the officiator, but I still felt like,
thank you, Mr. President,
she was keeping Kamala in her place, almost. She related more with, I don't want to make it all racial. She related more to her white side than her white side. So to the women, right, do you feel that white women are like truly allies in the struggle? Like, how does that make you feel? And what were your thoughts like? And specifically, when she referred to Kamala as Kamala versus Senator Harris, you know. And so, like, what are your thoughts on that, ladies?
So let me. First of all, Susan was
that's her.
Her name was Susan. Susan, I listened to this female Christian author. Her name is Jen Hatmaker. And when everything kind of George Floyd happened and Breonna Taylor happened, and I was trying to see what she was going to say. And as a white woman, she said, as white women, they need to accept their whole part in this, because most of the racism is due to white women tears. It's not due to, okay, white men, yeah, y'all do your own thing. I don't have time to talk about y'all. But white women's tears were the cause of a lot of stuff. And when she said that, she lost a lot of followers. And she said, I don't care. She said, because I know that, she said, I do it. My tears get me where I need to be with my husband. So I can imagine during slavery, during segregation, that a white woman's tears is what was the cause of a lot of stuff. And when it came to Susan, first of all, her name is Kamala Harris. Her name is Senator Kamala Harris, and you can call her Senator Harris. You don't know her well enough to call her by her first name. I wouldn't call her by her first name. I don't know her. Same thing happened. I'm watching my daughter is a part of the APS, and they have a new superintendent. They were talking about this was before school started, and they had all these meetings. And this white man on the Zoom call said her name was Lisa. And all of the black people on the call were just typing in, who he think he is? That ain't her name. You better put some respect on her. I mean, it was all of a sudden, all of the black people came together and said, who do you think you are? You do not know her like that. You call her Dr. Herring. Her name is not Lisa to you.
Yeah.
But white women, it depends. I can't say that all white women are like that, because I have some wonderful Caucasian friends who every time something happens, they call me. How you doing? And they mean it from their heart. I also know some Caucasian women who come up to me and like, hard week, huh? What you talking about? I literally had no idea what she was talking about. And we were at church. And she walked up to me and said, how are you? I'm good. I thought maybe I had missed an announcement. Somebody died. I had no idea. It's been a hard week, huh? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she said, again, I don't know which black man had been killed. There's been so many. And she was like, well, you know, so-and-so. And I said, that happened every day in the black community. What you talking about? Yeah. She was offended by my response. Well, that was a stupid question to ask me. How was I doing? Because we don't get it.
How often does that go to intent, though, Shelby? Like, okay, so my question, when I saw that happened with Kamala versus Erica, versus Senator, right? And Erica, you right on time, because we were just talking about, because when this happened, Erica posted, she's like, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Like, that's exactly the disrespect. Mm-hmm. But then I said to Erica, like, how much, when it comes down to intent, right? Kamala does come off, it's pretty approachable. Like, she wears Chucks and Timbs, and she jump off the plane with Timbs on. So, like, is it possible? And I'm just trying to play both sides. I want to represent both sides. There's good people on both sides. There are white people on both sides. You stupid. But look, but I'm just saying. from a commutability, I don't know, communicability standpoint, like she's very like approachable. So some of my friends were saying, well, maybe Susan just felt like Kamala was her girl, and that's why she referred to her like that. Y'all not buying it?
No, because if that was her girl, you would not have cut her off.
Correct.
Ooh.
If that was her girl, she'd have made sure she gave her the respect that was due to her in front of the world.
Right.
Absolutely.
Because when you said Vice President Pence, you never called him Mike.
Exactly.
No, several times.
You didn't call him
Thank you,
Michael.
Vice President. Thank you, Vice President.
Thank you, Vice President Pence. Well, then you need to call her by her formal title, which is Senator Harris.
Exactly.
Yes,
And then
we're not going to do
talk about
today
the
is
interrupt.
mansplain this thing.
Yeah, we're doing no mansplaining. We ain't trying to mansplain nothing to nobody.
So y'all have to break it down because there's a lot of brothers that's watching, a lot of men that's watching. They need this education.
And they don't understand. So, like, I get it, right? I get it. And I'm going to tell you why I think the difference is for us, right?
Okay.
We know a bunch of sisters in power in authoritative positions that we respect on that level. So, like, I think for me, because I've seen so many women in positions of prominence, I understand the level of respect that's owed to them because of what it takes for you to get to that level. Right. You know what I'm saying? But back to the whole we was talking about that. I think this is a common theme for both women, but specifically for Black women, where I felt like she had to walk a fine line between being a professional and not being stereotyped as a crazy Black woman, you know. So, and this is something that you ladies experience every day. And Thomas, I know you've seen this, and we experience it too. And I'm not saying we don't. We absolutely experience that too. If you're a Black man in corporate America, we have to walk some of those same lines as well. So what were your thoughts on that when she had to continuously tell him, I'm speaking? Like, I feel like that is a theme in the Black community. Like, so talk to me about it. Erica, welcome to the show. Like, go ahead and tell us.
Yeah, I just think that that's something that we experience on a daily basis. And you do have to walk that fine line. You've got to be nice, or else you might be considered, you know, the angry Black woman. And, you know, that reputation would follow you. I deal with it all day long. I won't say where I work, but I deal with it every single day. And it's just kind of those, and I think I'm hearing this new terminology of the microaggressions, and it's real.
Yeah.
It is so real. It's any email that you send, it's going to get an extra level of scrutiny. Anytime you're speaking, people are going to question what you're saying. You can say the exact same thing that a man said. You say the exact same thing that a white woman said. They're going to come behind you and repeat exactly what you said. And now all of a sudden
it's a great idea.
You know, that's
awesome.
Great idea.
It's new.
It's a gospel.
But now you have to ask yourself, where does that put you? Because if you come back and say, hey, I just said that, now you look petty. So now you've got to go along with it, you know. And for me personally, what I have started doing in my profession, because I'm afforded the latitude to do that, I don't give a lot of information. I might provide you with an idea, but I don't provide you with a lot of information on how this is going to be executed. So if you steal it, you're out on your own. And then you usually have to come back to me to say, hey, how do we mess that up? Oh, sure. Let me show you how you messed it up. And, you know, and that was something that I had to learn. And it's kind of like trial by error, you know, just kind of get in there and take it. So that stuff, it's a real thing. It's a real thing.
How do you not just nut up? I mean, if you go through this day by day, you know, what is the de-stressor? What brings you back to center? Because it's maddening. And because I know y'all get it worse than us.
Yeah.
I mean, because you have to go home and then you probably have to go through it a different way because
you have to deal with with your man or whatever at the house, and then raising kids or whatever have you. So how do you get back to center without going up on everybody?
And before you get in that, let me qualify that Superman married guy. I don't think y'all get it more than us. I think y'all get it worse than us because y'all get it from work and then y'all get it from us. I think at work we probably even kill is how much we get it and how much y'all get it. But then again, we can still fall into the patriarchy. We can't be in a family with some dude that don't give a damn about us and be like, oh, we're dudes, so we get it.
Right.
We still get paid more.
You know what I'm saying?
For doing this.
Work for y'all because we give it to y'all too.
I walk in my privilege every day as a black man. Every day.
I have a
It's not the same.
Perfect example of that. So in my office, I'm the director in my office. Everyone in the building knows my title. They know who I am, everything like that. Yet and still, there's one guy on my team. A new person came on. He actually came on. He introduced himself to me. Hey, you're the director of this office. I'm the director of this one. Maybe we should collaborate. But when he found time to want to collaborate, he sought out the man on my team, which is actually my subordinate.
Right.
And the guy on my team, because he understands that and had a level of respect, he said, well, let me introduce you to my boss. And he's like, oh, yeah, Erica and I met. So now it's like, oh, yeah, I know Erica, but you didn't know me when you only wanted to talk to the guy, when you already knew who I was. And you knew that I was the person that you should be kind of running things through. And so that type of stuff, it happens. It's real. And to your question, how do you de-stress? I think you really do have to turn it off, and you have to make a conscious effort when you leave work to leave it at work. Leave it over there and don't bring it home with you, because it can really eat away at you, and people want more of you than they should have, and so you do have to just turn it off. And I know that sounds easier said than done, but you just have to do it. You have to not check the email. You have to purposely not open that computer. Just move on, and have things that make you happy. Like if you enjoy cooking, go in there and cook a meal. I'm not answering. I'm not looking at my phone. And that's one thing that I do. I'm really connected. I probably have like 10 email accounts that are all work related, but at some point in time, I have to make a conscious effort to shut it down and to say I'm not going to be a part of that.
I have a quick question. Based on what you all talk about with Senator Harris, she was measured in her responses and all those things, but did it work?
I don't think anybody changed their mind based on a vice presidential debate. Some of the comments that I saw, she seemed angry. She seemed condescending. She was scary. That was my favorite one. She was scary. I said, now what the hell did she do to look scary? She never raised her voice. She was very calm, collected. There were questions that she did not answer, but let's be clear. There were questions that he didn't answer too. Absolutely. He had way more questions that he didn't answer than she did. So nobody changed their mind.
Yeah, I don't think regardless of what she did, she would have still been seen by some as being an angry black woman, regardless of what she did. No.
So do you think she should have? Do you think she should have been measured, or should have been more assertive? I guess you say, or in her responses.
I think no matter what she would have done, she's gonna have the same response. I had a commissioner in the county to actually say to me, I thought you were being rude to me because you were pronouncing your T's. See, she says, you're pronouncing your words. The way that you pronounce your words, I thought that you were being short with me. Because I'm enunciating?
Because I'm speaking the King's English.
And
the King. Come on, Shelby.
This is a black woman. This is a black woman that said that to me. So
now I can tell you that black women, I hate to say it, they kind of hard to work for sometimes.
Oh, my Jesus.
I mean,
Why
my
would you say that?
worst supervisors have always been black
I
women.
think in the back of our minds, we a lot of times see each other as competition.
Right.
Amen.
And we're not. I'm not.
Exactly.
Boo, I don't want your job. You see how
But-
you done lost all your hair. I don't want your job.
Now, I hear you on the competition piece, but it goes to, I guess my question goes back to what we're talking about, and that is, do you have to be tough? Do you have to be stern? Do you have to not show favoritism to another black employee because black women, I guess you say, in a position of power, have to not seem weak, if you will?
Well,
And
I would say,
hold on, Eric. I don't mean to cut you out, but like to Shelby's point, how much of that is contrived by society? Because if we're taught, okay, you're a black woman in power, you're gonna look out for your people.
Right.
Like subliminally, like I gotta be hard on her, so nobody that gave me this job make me or think that I'm looking out for my sister girl. Like, how much does that play?
but I would say that I experience this on a daily basis. And what I have found is I have a team of 9, and I have 2 black girls on my team, and they are the ones that work the least. It's almost like they expect me to
give them a
have their
pass
back and not hold them accountable for completing things and things of that nature. And whereas, the people of other races, they work extremely hard, even given the fact that these people are not paid as well, because they have different positions, but they work twice as hard for their black manager than the person that's black working for the black manager. So I think some of that is the manager could be being extra hard, but then there's the other side of it where people feel like they don't have to do as much because how my girl got me, that whole attitude.
So how do you handle that as a manager?
You have to hold them accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to let them go if it needs to be.
And is that when the sparks start flying, when you start holding them accountable?
I think there's a way to do anything. Like, even if he said, did you think that's when the sparks start flying, when you have to hold them accountable? Sometimes. but I also think that there's a way to do anything. Like, I've had to have employees where I've had to pull you aside and be like, okay, this is why you are not getting promoted and someone else is. So if you wish to have that kind of position, you're going to have to step your game up, and still not playing favorites, but holding people accountable for doing what it is that they're supposed to do. But there's a way to do it. You don't have to be just like overly nasty for no reason.
You're right.
But you do. No, I'm sorry, Erica. You do understand though, like Valerie, like you can do everything the right way, but the wrong person ain't gonna receive it the right way.
Most definitely, and the wrong people will be unemployed.
And I think
kind of what it is.
What I have learned just in those situations, you just have to keep it, not personal. It has to be about the work. And I sometimes find myself having to over document that you have done something out of line just to cover myself or not look like I'm just overly harsh and things like that. So honestly, you get a lot more chances than you probably would in any other scenario, because I want to make sure that I have enough information. Like, I have 17 incidents. It shouldn't take 17 for me to be able to say we're going to part ways, but that's something that you have to do to try to overcome when you say, hey, you're not cutting it, and the person not coming back to try to say, well, you're just being mean to me, blah blah blah, that sort of thing. So
and I guess I ask now is, do you think that is consistent with being a black manager or a black female manager?
Yeah, I think we have it tough. I can't get a white man to work for me. Absolutely not. They come for an interview and it's like, I don't have anything to do with that.
Okay. So with that, that's very interesting. It is. So something we touched on at the very end of the show, the phrase strong black woman. is that a positive or a negative effect on being a black woman?
And is it relative to the culture? Like, does one culture receive that phrase differently than another culture? Like, I would love to get y'all's thoughts on that.
It depends. I
Right.
mean, for me, I take it as a compliment if somebody says that, because I think I am. I do it by myself. But I think for other races, that is not looked upon as something to strive for. Like, I was always raised to be a strong black woman, to be okay with being black, to be okay with having to work harder to get the same amount as somebody white, to be okay with all of that, with being okay with not being married, be okay with buying a house by yourself, to be okay with fixing your car by yourself, all of that stuff. So I take pride in it. And I'm hoping that I'm teaching my daughter to take pride in that, whatever she chooses to do.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And I think it's a positive as well, but
you're a man.
But I'm just telling you, like,
Yeah,
I think we've all like experienced, and I hate, because at the end of the day, I'm a restate this.
Okay.
I couldn't care less who you love, what you do with your life, right?
Okay.
That being said, I have a lot of friends in interracial relationships that when I especially if I know the previous girlfriend, like, say for instance, if the previous girlfriend was a black woman and they went through all of this hardship, all of this that we don't want to talk about, and then they get with a white woman or a woman of another culture, and it's like they're a totally different person. So my question is, do you think subliminally, and I'm not condoning abuse under no circumstance, but do you think that it has something to do with the public image of the strong black woman, that I can do this to her and she'll be okay? And again, not condoning that, but do you think that plays a part into that level of either whether it be physical, sexual, or verbal abuse?
Yeah, and we even see that with the medical field.
Right.
My sister is a nurse, and she's like, hey, I don't know how many times I've had to tell nurses, I know you see that lady over there saying that she's in pain. Oh, she's okay. No, she's not. She's okay just because she's a black woman. She's supposed to be able to take more pain. Right. It seems like for a lot of people, it's a given that black women are supposed to be able to take it and still keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
Where does that come from? Like, what does that make you, like, how does that make you feel as a black woman? Like, at the end of the day, I know I'm a strong friend, right? I know that. I don't know how many friends I got in the circle. I'm the strong friend. But the strong friend breaks down too. When they say, you're strong friend. So I think I get a lot of neglect from my friends and family because they know Corey's tough. He's tough, he good. And they don't know what I'm going through, So, like, how do we change that narrative, Valerie? Like, how do we express the vulnerability of the black woman as well as the strength? Because I think it's a duality.
You have to redefine manhood and get rid of these weak ass men and start talking about strong black women. Get rid of these weak ass men. That's the problem. They get the feelings hurt because they got a woman that has strength, whatever that means. But I will say this. I want to make sure I open this up. Women in other cultures, from my experience, they're called bitches when they are strong women. You see what I mean? So we say strong black woman, but we also use bitches and hoes as interchangeably and all that stuff too. But I'm going to make sure I speak up for the other women as well, because they get called bitches for being strong. She's such a bitch because she that. But all she's doing is just her job. You know what I mean? So, but the men, it's the weak ass men. We keep going back, talk about the women, but it's these weak ass men. They can't handle a woman that can handle her business, period, point blank.
Here's the thing.
I think we do have to, and Corey, you touched on it a bit. I think we do have to explore that idea of being vulnerable. And that's something that's really tough for a lot of women. Because, if your most vulnerable point is when you are, it's kind of seen as being weak. But in actuality, in order to be vulnerable with a person, say with your partner, with a man, in order to be vulnerable with him, that takes a lot of strength to be able to open yourself up that way
And
and
trust.
put everything on the line to say, this is who I am deep down in my core, and I'm exposing myself. And so you really do have, I'm telling you things that could, if you brought that back to me, it could hurt me, to the core. And so I think that's something that we as Black people in general, men and women, we have to be able to explore that idea of being vulnerable and things like that. And I think that's really just human nature. And we don't want to be that way because it can hurt if people knew certain things about you and things like that. So I think that's a really important point that needed to be made.
And I think one of the issues, I'm sorry, Corey, when you were saying, you're the strong friend, I think a lot of times, and my mom and I talk about this all the time. I was like, well, everybody wants you to check on them, but nobody checks on the strong friend. Mm-hmm. Nobody makes sure you're good. And then she asked me one day, she was like, do you honestly think that if you unloaded what you carry on a daily basis, that most people could handle it?
Exactly.
No.
That's deep. That's deep.
They couldn't.
But as somebody who believes in mental health, try.
Yeah.
Oh, I unloaded on
if they can't handle it, let them go. But get it off your chest. Get it off your chest.
I unloaded with the lady I pay for.
Have to. But you can't. But if once you're vulnerable with somebody, and then let's just say they leave, then you're like, okay, well maybe I won't do that no more.
Right.
Because
you're gun shy at that point.
Right.
Exactly. And then you find somebody.
You say thank you.
Or they hurt you or anything. And then, like you say, you're gun shy and you just don't want to, you don't feel like going through all of that all over again. So I think that's why some people stay as long as they do, because you're like, well, then listen, I've been doing this for this long. I ain't starting over.
But hey, in that same vein, though, as somebody's considered himself as one of the strong friends, if you walk away, that's less I got to deal with. So be gone. Thank you.
That's a strong person.
Walk away. Yeah.
I'm just saying, as a strong friend, you just take on too much.
Like that, you hurting. So you're not at that point yet. Because I don't want to leave out the co-stars that's listening online. I have a couple of them from.
I saw Joy Lisa LaFleur. What up, Joy?
She actually got a comment, and Sierra Hall. Sierra Hall, y'all take a look at her comment. All right. What does it say? I can't read it. Y'all read it.
Tell us to look at it.
They can see. I can't read it.
I can't read that. There's two ways. It's becoming.
Basically, she's saying it's becoming an excuse. Yeah.
Oh, somebody, it's becoming an excuse to treat Black women badly. It's being expected to disrespect, the abuse, the weight of the world because you're conditioned to be a strong Black woman. We kind of touched on that, and I agree with that. I agree.
That's a very good point. And you have to think about, if you look at how we as young girls, how we're raised by our parents, like we are raised to be tough. We're raised to be strong. You better go out and get it. And our moms, they don't do a lot to protect us when we're out. Our moms don't protect us. Our men don't protect us. But who does get protected? The moms and her little sons. She coddles him. She treats him like
we're not going to mamas and their boys. Mamas and them boys.
Hey.
Oh my gosh.
Can we get into it there?
Let me tell you. My husband.
I have, because this is something that's any of my friends will tell you. I talk about it all the time because it just really like eats away at me to the core. And when you see, how you say, well, why can't black women and Black men get along in relationship? Well, it's because a lot of times that man already has a woman and her name is his mother.
His mom.
Okay?
Let me tell you. Wait, hold on. My ex-husband. No, I'm saying I got an example.
But I want to hear your example.
My husband, and bless his soul, he's no longer here, so I feel like I can tell this. One day we got up to go to work. No, I wasn't pregnant yet. All right. I didn't know I was pregnant. And he said, I'm not going to work. I said, why? I got a sore throat. You got a what? You got a sore throat. I said, Negro, if you don't get up out of this bed and go to work, you gonna go to work, you got a sore throat. I said, you need to call your mama and tell her to come get you. I said, because I don't know what, but as I learned more in our divorce and his subsequent passing, that's how his mama raised him.
Mm-hmm.
His mama raised him like almost like her husband.
Exactly. That's their companion.
That's he, you know, if he would come to his mama and be like, oh, I don't feel good. She'd be like, okay, well, you don't have to go. And you carried that into adulthood. And I guess you thought I was your mama, but I'm not.
Exactly.
And I was like, you got to go to work. You have a sore throat. You don't even have a fever. What do you mean? Like, that's not even a legitimate sick day excuse.
I have a quick question about all that. Because you know, I keep bringing up all the gender stuff. So I do have a question. Erica mentioned that from your perspective, that Black women are raised to be strong. And that you didn't say this, but I'm just going to infer that the way that you said the way the men are being raised is kind of weak in a sense, which I'm one of those people who think that we have we have to deal with toxic masculinity. So this perspective that you offered is kind of different, where we're teaching women to be more independent and strong, and then we're teaching men to be more dependent.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I'll go even further with it, because this is something that I have, it just really bothers me because I see it so much. And, you know, when I just kind of do research and kind of just see like, where did this come from? You know, I can see the roots in slavery with like the Willie Lynch stuff.
Slave.
You
Yes.
be the biggest slave, and now the mom is gonna make sure I gotta make sure my baby is safe. They're not gonna bother my daughter. She's gonna be okay. Let her out into the world. But I had to protect my son. And now you see it today. I have to protect my baby. If he goes out there, the police are gonna shoot him. I need to make sure he's safe. You know, when he comes home, and then the other thing is the moms tend to be single moms raising boys. They elevate these boys to the level of companion. Now, when my grandfather was coming home and my grandmother made sure he got a big steak or the nice big plate of food.
Big piece of chicken. Come on now.
He was out working and taking care of the family. So she had to make sure that he was okay so that he can continue to do that for the family, right? Mm-hmm. Now these moms are elevating boys to that status, and they haven't done anything.
I have
a do anything but open their eyes, and now they're being elevated to the man of the house.
Yeah, I have a friend
real quick,
who has.
Before you get in, I want to draw a correlation, right? If you look at the statistical numbers with the number of soon-to-be black men or boys being raised in single-parent households, it's gone up exponentially. The number of abuse cases in our community has also gone up exponentially. So my question is, I'm not blaming anybody.
Why not?
But why can't we talk about, okay, the majority of these dudes that are abusing these women have been raised by women. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm just being honest. Like that's the
all of them are.
Most of them are.
But they're angry.
They're angry. Look at that correlation that you make, and then the correlation that I just drew. If the young man has been raised and he's been treated like royalty by his mom, and now he gets with a woman who has expectations for him, you get to be treated like a king in this home when you go out and behave like a king. You behave like you're taking care of this family, then I'm going to make sure you're okay. It's kind of hard to do that if you're at home playing video games and
I'm at work
making all the bacon. I have to come home and cook the bacon.
I'm about to make y'all mad.
Clean the kitchen too. You know, I think that leads to a lot of arguments and things like that because these guys,
but how much
the needs of
how much of that is religion? How much of that is the ideal image of what a man is based on our religious beliefs?
You trying
because if the women are raising these guys, they're raising people they feel like they want.
Bob and Weed, Thomas.
You know what I mean? I'm
But
not
a
saying
lot of
this.
times-
I'm not saying this low.
Well,
What I'm
But
saying
a lot
is,
of times women are raising men with the idea of what I would expect from a
Right.
man. Some of us don't
and
even
that's
know
the
what we
problem.
want.
And I'm not saying that's your
Yeah.
fault. I'm
So-
saying that's
That's a
the
good
problem.
point.
I
Right.
think that's
But
the
you have to
problem.
I don't
understand
think-
also, if you're raising a male child and you're making all the decisions, you're coddling him, you're not teaching him to do anything on his own. It's always I can fall back and let mama do it. You're taking all that power from him that he would need to use as he becomes a man.
Exactly.
So then he gets in relationships and he's put in positions where he needs to make decisions and he
He
needs to
doesn't
exert that kind of. He has none because
Yeah.
you've not
He
taught
doesn't
him how to
know.
use it.
Mhm.
And so that leads to anger. Here we go. This
Absolutely.
woman is expecting something from me that I
And I
have
can't
not
do
been
it.
taught to give her. So the one thing I can show give her is a backhand.
You out here preaching.
But a lot of it, I think a lot of it comes from overcompensation, right? Because
Well, that's true too.
Yes.
that
Because
child's
if
father
you-
is not available.
Yeah.
They feeling some type of gift for whatever reason he's not available. So I'm gonna give this boy everything he's supposed to have because his daddy not there. And I'm gonna tell you, I've been in a situation where I dated women that really caught a little boy to the point where I had to leave a relationship because I knew what that leads to. Because at the end of the day, if you have a 16-year-old son that don't work for like $200 shoes, you're raising either a freeloader or a drug dealer. Because the only people that like high-end stuff with no work ethic or somebody's gonna try to do something like unscrupulous to get it. So like I've had a lot of conversations, like, and I'm telling you, I got a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends that are probably watching this podcast right now. Joy, what's good, homie? What's up? I got a lot of female friends watching the show right now that are coddling these boys to the point where the only way they're going to be fruitful in life is if they find a woman they can live off of.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they go to a different. That's when they go to a different race because
But you know that's familiar.
we ain't doing
I
that.
agree. I agree.
Not doing
Because
it.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't take care of grown men.
Oh.
You can't be in my house that I pay the bills for when I leave. No, when I leave, you leave.
Yeah.
We're from
Okay.
home. We're from home.
I can't borrow your
I'm a day trader.
No.
I'm a day trader. I ain't got to go nowhere.
Well, then you got to
work from
trade at the
home.
library. You got to
Yeah,
trade
but
at the
trade at
library
Starbucks.
because you're not going to use my Wi-Fi.
Jordan, I'm playing
I'm
Call
gonna use
of
my
Duty
Wi-Fi.
today. Go ahead and do your thing.
I'm
But I'm
sorry,
saying, though,
but that's just.
I'm
But
not
then,
blaming.
I can't get your Wi-Fi password,
No.
Shelby.
Right. Right.
if I will
I'm not
change
blaming
the
the black
Wi-Fi,
woman.
wait, hold on. If I will change the Wi-Fi password on my daughter when she get in trouble, you know I'm gonna change it on you.
Yeah.
She about to change it right now.
And I'm not leaving the black woman 100% culpable because I will tell y'all have all heard me say this. The biggest tragedy, let me get the camera. The biggest tragedy in this country is the missing father, period, point blank, right? So the father's gone. But I think a lot of times women are raising the men that they complain about. Not realizing some of them that their intentions are to do that. Their intentions are to make up for what they don't have, what he does not have. But I'm telling you, I think a lot of times women, they're raising the abuser. They're raising the freeloader. They're raising the moocher in their own household because he depends on everything for them. And I praise God, thank you God, that I had a mama that told me you got to learn how to watch your clothes. Dude. And I praise God that my ex-wife does not play the radio. We don't get along on a lot of different things, but when it comes to her making my son do what he's supposed to do, she don't do that. She don't coddle him. She for real be in his ass. And I appreciate that because he'll never look for a woman to live off of. He'll never do that. He'll never do that.
You got a lot of, go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, because I'm on the soapbox, my bad.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, but my argument has always been like I want to be a part of the solution, right? So what do we do? Because it's on both ends. The man leaves. Yeah, the man leaves. But when the man leaves, you overcompensate for him leaving, and you're raising these men. They're gonna put somebody's daughter same situation that you're in. So what is the solution? Like, how do we overcome this in our community? Like, what do we do?
Is that a real question?
I'm not a parent.
Real question.
Okay.
That's a real question.
Yeah.
Y'all ask the question, and then I got some more comments to read.
I think, first of all, we have to learn how to argue. Black men and black women have to learn how to argue. Just because we argue doesn't mean I don't love you. It doesn't mean I want you to leave. That just means at this particular moment, I don't like you. Doesn't mean I don't love you. But if you could like maybe leave my sight for a little while, and then we can come back together.
Okay,
But we are always
communication, not arguing. You need to know how to communicate.
We know how to
relationship on how do we argue, because a lot of that is probably trauma from being a child, seeing your parents argue or people arguing at you. So when you're in
So, but
Well,
to
we know.
your point, though, I agree.
See, I never saw my parents argue. I didn't know they. I didn't know they argued until
Me neither, Shelby.
I don't even think if we have to learn how to argue as much as we have to learn how to have these conversations without anybody's feelings getting hurt.
Right.
So we can get
You
something.
gotta listen, Thomas.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
But it kind of goes back to Thomas's weak ass man thing.
Right.
Y'all don't like to say when you're wrong. You quick to say when we wrong. And women, listen.
Arvel when he's wrong. I witness that. He can say when he's wrong. Thomas can say when he's wrong.
Thomas definitely says when he's wrong.
Yeah.
But okay, y'all the choir. Y'all the church. Y'all the choir. I'm talking about I think it's us as people, black, white, red, yellow, blue. We don't like to admit when we're wrong. Right. And we don't like to say, you know what? That was my fault. I take responsibility for that. Corey, you know, when you got divorced and I sent you a message and you asked me, like, how was that? And I said, I had to apologize for my part. It was partly my fault. And I had to apologize. I didn't like that. I didn't like saying that the divorce was partly my fault, but it was. It was just as much my fault that it was his.
It's always 50-50.
It's always 50-50. But nobody wants to do that anymore.
But you have to own that.
Yeah.
Everybody
wants to happily ever after.
Don't go below the belt when you're angry. Monique Tyler
The homeless Pepperbrook is in the building.
Monique Tyler says we need to learn to communicate effectively.
We do.
And Adrian Booth.
I think all of what you all are saying, is how to fight fair, how to argue, how to communicate effectively. All of that is rooted in being vulnerable. You can't admit that you're wrong if you're not willing to be vulnerable and say, you know what, hey, I messed that up. I'm sorry.
And also you have to. I'm sorry.
And don't bring up other stuff. Don't bring up old stuff. If we already argued, we can't bring up old stuff.
I want to stay with Erica with the vulnerability, because that's a big piece, because a lot of this problem is they can't look in the mirror and see what their ownership was.
Doing wrong. To be honest with yourself.
And I had to. That's one thing that I did. I had to admit to myself, because I was like, I always think I'm right, but then. Just when you think about like relationships and things like that, I had a moment and I said, I have all of these expectations of this man, and I'm saying, no, you have to meet all of my standards, not thinking like, oh, wait, he has standards too. And maybe I'm not meeting what he's wanting. Like, hey, I am human. Maybe I'm not perfect. And so I'm maybe there's some things that I'm like, okay, I can compromise on that. But there may be things that he's compromising on as well. And so that takes a big person to be able to say, I'm not a perfect human being. Far from. And
but we have to
mean that.
We have to be able to be honest with ourselves, though, Erica. We can't be honest with somebody we're in a relationship with if I can't look in the mirror and truly see myself, good, bad, whatever, and then we'll walk around pretending like we're right all the time because I don't want to admit that there are some things I know I need to deal with.
Exactly.
Right. One other quick thing. Shelby mentioned we were part of the choir. I'm not quite in the choir yet. I'm on the front row though. Okay. And I say that to address the point that you have to be intentional. I used to sit in the back row for a long time of the church on this subject. I used B's, H's, my favorite. I still love trap music. Some of my favorite songs contradict everything I said today. Let me just be clear. That's why I said I ain't quite. I'm serious though, but it's being intentional about improving and changing how I move forward allowed me to recognize that. So I don't hear my same favorite songs the same anymore because now I feel like I'm perpetuating everything that I'm fighting against. So when Cole says, "What's the solution?" I'm starting a mentor program. I am moving forward with some additional coalitions with men to kind of help redefine what manhood is. So the women and the moms don't have to define what manhood is. They just raise good citizens, which is character, which transcends all that other stuff we talked about. So raise good men based on character. But you have to be intentional. This is not work that just happens. I had to read. I had to talk to other women. I have to shut up sometimes. That's hard for me to do and listen.
All of us.
Oh yeah.
And so pretty soon I'm gonna be head of the choir, Shelby. That is my goal.
That's okay.
That is my goal. That is my goal to be head of the choir. And I'm gonna say this publicly so I can be held accountable to it. Yes. I'm going to start a nonprofit that that advocates on behalf of domestic violence victims. As a result of these conversations, I realized that this topic is passionate to me. So solution is I am going to move forward with the and establish a nonprofit that educates people on domestic violence and being more of an advocate.
I am 100% on board with you, brother. If there's anything that I can do to help you in that endeavor, I'm all about it. Look, I have a question though, like for real, and it kind of piggybacks on what Thomas is saying. Like, it starts with us, like Black men, we have to recognize what we're doing. We have to recognize our part in what we play. And we have to decide that we're not going to do this anymore because we have daughters and we have mothers and we have sisters and we have aunts. And we don't want that to happen. But I'm going to ask y'all this question, like for real. I have to ask the question, if the majority of our young Black men are being raised by single Black women, what is the culpability to the Black woman that's raising this Black son to say, hey, dog, that shit is not okay. Like, that is not, I'm gonna give you a story. Like, I was in a barbershop. It was like almost a year ago. And I'm in a barbershop. It goes to Thomas's, like, toxic masculinity. I'm in a barbershop. There's a 15 or 16-year-old dude on the phone with his girlfriend. And she said something that he didn't like. And this dude said to her in front of a whole bunch of men way older than him, he said, oh, I'm going to beat you when I get it. I'm going to beat you when I get it. He said it twice. And I'm looking around, I'm waiting for the barber that's cutting his hair or the dude in the chair next to him. Somebody asked a question about it. So I stared to this guy. I said, hey, bro, who are you talking to? If you talking to my niece, my cousin, my boy, I will take you outside and whoop your butt right now. Nobody had a problem with that. Everybody heard this man talking about, get that, I'm going to beat you. Now, does this 15-year-old abuse this woman? I don't know. I don't even like joking like that. I don't like, and I'm going to tell you how ironic life is, and this is all God. This dude worked at my local Wendy's. Swear to God, straight up. Rode through the Wendy's one day, and I saw the dude in the drive-thru after I had corrected him about it. And I said, hey, dog, I was in the barbershop that day when you threatened to beat your girl. And he was like, what? I was like, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I go to the barbershop on Indian Trail. You remember? He was like, man, I was just playing. I said, let me tell you what I know for a fact. Don't play like that. That's a dumbass joke. And don't even joke like that. And if I ever hear you talking about that to a girl like that again, I'm going to choke you out for no reason. Now, I would never physically choke the little 15-year-old dude out. Unless it was my niece, my cousin, my daughter. Like, I was just he would get choked out. But I'm just saying, like, toxic masculinity, nobody in the barbershop had a problem with it. We listen to music, and we don't have time to cover. We listen to music that condones the abuse of our women, and we bump that. Like, Juvenile had songs where he'll slang, he'll beat her, like, that was my jam. And so I'm with you, Thomas. We've been complicit, so we can no longer do that. So,
but I will want to say something real quick, though.
Yeah.
Because you said toxic masculinity. Now, this is the challenge, and I'm going to put it out there. When we're challenging other men on their toxic behaviors, we can't threaten to beat their ass. You see what I'm saying? That's the challenge. That's the challenge. I'm with you. I'm here with you because we as men we threaten to beat your ass as a result of somebody threatening violence against somebody. So we're gonna address it with violence. Like I said, that's the challenge that we have to. That's why I always bring up redefining what manhood is, and it goes back to the conversation we had about how do we understand each other as a couple. You just have to learn how to listen and communicate effectively. You did everything right, in my opinion, and to the point you said, "I'll choke your ass out next time."
But even it was an emphasis. It was an emphasis. Okay?
That's the challenge, though, bro. That's the challenge, man.
He
But
said,
even
great
then-
discussion, salute your comments. He recognized his part and started changing from within.
Two Mix, what up, homie?
Yeah.
That's Cordell in the building, the Street Sound in the Raw Deal for real. That's what's up.
But
Yeah,
even
talk about
even among Black women, we have to have that balance between I don't want nobody to say nothing to me about my kids, but then in another breath we say it takes a whole village. Okay, if it takes a whole village, then you should be okay with somebody helping you and teaching you a better way to do things.
I think as a
I'm not gonna
culture,
preach it, but that still goes back to being vulnerable. That's one part of it. Like if you can't even take that someone is saying that, hey, your kid is not acting appropriately. Why does that eat you at the core? Because it's somewhere deep down you feel like you're not good enough. So your kid is an example of you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why that hurts. But I think that's what we have to connect with ourselves to say that I can take that. You know what? Maybe little Johnny was misbehaving. So let me correct that. And I appreciate you for pointing that out.
And I see that so much being a therapist in the mental health field. I work as much with the parents as I do with the children because we're teaching what we know, good, bad, whatever. And I can't teach anything that I don't know. And it's amazing how a lot of us will be like, oh, I'm not going to go to therapy. I'm not going to go see nobody. But I got clients that drive an hour one way because they want to see somebody who looks like them. And who understands the perspective that you're coming from when it comes to raising your children and disciplining your children and things of that nature. So those of us who know better, we've got to step out on a limb and teach better. Right. We can't just sit around and watch all this stuff happen and be like, her kid is bad. Ma'am, please help that lady.
Yeah. Look, fam, great discussion. We're coming up on time. Y'all know y'all are always welcome to come on the show. Something that we, like Mastermind and I have decided, this is something we can't stop talking about. Our community is so important to this show, and that's what we want to do. So we're gonna devote a whole block to what we gonna call Ladies' Night. And Ladies' Night, we trying to figure out what's going on with our sisters, man, our queens, our wives, our mothers, like, because that's important to us. And I feel like, me personally, we figure out what the problems are with our woman, then we can figure out the whole community, because I'm one of those dudes that feel like y'all there you go. So y'all are more than welcome to come on. Again, I will give party shots. I have a question and we'll go party shot. But I want to say before we close out, next week, Jay Sean Durham on next week.
So the 21st.
So next week, and this particularly like to all of my thespian friends, all of my Georgia friends, all my Bill County what it do friends, we're gonna have Jay Sean Durham next week. He's got some features coming up. He's a great actor. He's a friend of mine that went to Georgia. He's done a lot of things. He's got some Netflix. Thomas Jefferson as a black man, for God's sake. So next week we're gonna have Jay Sean on, but Thursday night I think we're gonna devote to Ladies' Night. So we're gonna extend an additional night on the Big Coast Show. We're gonna start calling it Ladies' Night, where we discuss issues surrounding our sisters, our queens, our wives, our mothers, our sisters. So Thursday night going forward, we're gonna devote to the ladies and issues that can help heal that. So for party shots, again, thank you to all my co-stars, all my friends who showed up tonight. I guess my question to build on the next conversation, and this is for you, Shelby, for you, Valerie, for you, Erica, and for you, Thomas. What is it, if you had a message, a 30-second message to send to whatever group you want to send to? If you think the majority of the abuse of black women is coming from black America, black men, what will you say to the black man that he needs you to understand? If it's White America, what would you say to white America? The black woman, the sister community, what would you say? So we'll start with, I guess we'll start with Shelby. So Shelby, 30 seconds. Who are you? Who's your audience, and what's the message?
So my message is to black men. We love you, and we support you. We have your back at all times. We just need you to know that everything you face out there in the world, we face it too. And then when we come home, we face it again. We just need y'all to understand that we don't want to argue with you. We want to partner with you. We want to support you. But we need to support we need you guys to support us too. We want to partner just like you want to partner.
Yeah.
And we want you to help us fight our battles out there in the world, just like you want us to help you fight your battles in the world. Yeah. We love you, and we're here all the time.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Valerie Reese, who's your audience and what's your message?
My audience is black women.
Okay.
I'm not your competition. I'm not trying to be overly critical. I'm not looking down on you because of where you come from or where you are at the moment, but I can only help you if you let me. We have to stop looking at each other as something automatically negative or something I automatically have to be on the defensive about, and truly start looking at other black women as your village, because that's what we're here for.
Amen. Amen. On that, shout out to Santa Cara, my homegirl Santa Cara Cordia. She posted something today about how strong the coalition of black women could be if they all work together in business, in society. Like, if black women is for real, like, y'all, I love y'all so much. I was raised in a single mother home. Shout out to Brenda Dan. Look, I love y'all. I just feel like if y'all did work together, instead of letting society like barriers and Willie Lynch make y'all fight, like, y'all would be so strong. Okay, let's go to Erica. Erica, who's your audience and what's your message?
Well, I guess just maybe because of the week I had, it'll be for black women. And kind of to piggyback on what I forget her name. What's your name?
Valerie.
To piggyback on what Valerie said, we're not in competition with each other. We are here. We're all trying to succeed. We're all trying to move forward and trying to have uplifting lives and things like that. So I would say to other black women, it's time for us to just come together and put all of the BS to the side. Just put it away. It's not necessary. If you're lacking skills and things like that, you know, there could be another woman that could help you, but we have to be able to be open and honest with ourselves about our shortcomings. And it's okay. We're not all perfect, and nobody's ever going to be perfect, and everybody can't be good at everything. So it's okay. So that's what I would just say to other black women. We can all be excellent in our own right, and it's okay.
I love it. Mr. Morris.
Hey.
Thank you for being the long, well, I guess not long testosterone, we here. But I appreciate you, man, bro. Like, you've been so transparent and you've been so, but that's who you are. Like, that's just, like, the 20 plus years I've known you, that's just who you are. So who's your audience, sir? And what's your message?
All right, real quick. As a part of my ongoing intentionality to better myself, I came across a book called The Black Male Handbook. And in that book, they listed 7 steps for ending violence against women and girls. So so I'm targeting black men or abusers, period. Black abusers. Because women abuse men too. So I want to make sure. One, own the fact that you have made a very serious mistake. You know, you have to first admit that you made the mistake. Don't gloss it over. 2, get help as quickly as you can in the form of counseling or therapy. Make sure you walk away with some things to get you better, make you better. Learn to listen to the voices of women and girls.
Yeah.
4, make a conscious, they say, to paraphrase Gandhi, make a conscious decision to be the change we need to see.
Hey.
So when Cole and I admitted that, hey, we were complicit and we're trying to change, that's part of the process.
Amen.
5, become a consistent and reliable male ally to women and girls. And that starts with having conversations like this with the women in your life. Challenge other males about their physical, emotional, and spiritual violence toward women and girls. Cole gave you a good example on that. Follow it, follow it, follow it. We got to do more of it. We got to advocate more for our women. And lastly, create a new kind of man, a new kind of boy. Violence against women and girls is not going to cut it. We got to find other ways to prove our manhood other than putting our hands on other people. Love y'all.
Man, family, that was a great way to end the show, Thomas. Man, I love all the guests that came on to be a part of us tonight. This is a conversation that we are definitely going to continue. We have to feel it, but I want to say this before I leave, like for real. I'm all about my community because, like, at the end of the day, I'm identified as a black man. But I gotta love everybody. RB, I gotta love everybody, but we want equality and justice for everybody. So that's why we gotta start in our own backyard. So if anybody watches the show and be like, oh, Corey don't like white people, Corey don't like Asian people, if you know me, you know that ain't the truth. I don't like evil. I don't like that. But at the end of the day, thanks again for all the guests that came on. Mastermind, I thought it was a pretty good show.
It was a great show.
I thought it was a great show. Like, if anybody, like to all the people that tune in, if you want to ever get to your questions, you can email any questions to bigcoachshow@gmail.com. You can also check us out at Big Coach TV and on Facebook at Big Coach Show.
Find us. We will respond.
We will respond, man.
Real quick, and the ladies, the people who want to be part of Ladies Night, like every Thursday. If you listening to this show, watching this show, you enjoyed it, want to be part of the panel, hit us up, let us know. We're going to get you in there.
Ladies Night, we're going to be discussing women issues. We're going to talk about dating a lot, like for real. Like bring out some experts, some therapists, some like relationship counselors, some like reform cheaters. Like we got a whole great show planned up because we want to nurture and fortify
and mansplain.
No, I don't want to mansplain. We try to mansplain. Look, man, play the outro. Love y'all, Mastermind in the building.
Yes, Big Code.
Hey, thank all the co-stars. We love y'all. We love y'all. Next week, 7:30, we're gonna be back in the building. Can we get some parting music?
With the mirror and the henny and it got into some trouble. I always had to send me with me.